call it our, meeting where we're
Floor.
in person and online. There are more people
So
online
connected.
than in person. So we're going to be doing this next month. We're going to have a combo and we're going to do it in December. Next month is going to be holiday meals and December's holiday cookies. We're going to do the same. So let me just welcome, I'm Sally Lipsky with Plant-Based Pittsburgh, and know that for the new people, if you haven't signed in, sign in. And what I do is put your email on, and then tomorrow you will get an email from me with all the recipes that are being demonstrated today and any kind of extra information. So we have in the back there on the left-hand side says single coffee. So if you want that recipe today, you can take a picture of it. But in addition, there is some water in the back. There's also a water fountain out there and some cups. There's extra copies of recipes towards the door from 2019. So you're welcome to take those extra copies. And there's also, if I recommend going on our website, getting signed up for our newsletter, and you'll see all these beautiful free recipes on there. And while I'm at it, since we are, Plant-Based Pittsburgh is a nonprofit, I like to emphasize that we offer everything, free, and certainly if you're in person, we do have a little donation card. So if you want to throw in anything to reimburse the people who, for their ingredients, that would be great. But our mission is to educate, support, and build a community of health around whole food plant-based eating. And we've just grown and grown and grown. It's so encouraging. We have, if you are local and you buy my book from me, the proceeds go to Plant-Based Pittsburgh. Buy it from Amazon, they take their cut. It doesn't happen. But if you're local, it's $10 a copy, and you get the colored pictures too, the beautiful colored pictures. So yes. Or if you're online, you want to get local copies, you can email me. I should say that also. So we have two fantastic cooks here for you today already in our autumn theme. Linda Jones.
Hello.
Right there, and Brittany Giroudi are there, our resident plant-based cook. Yes. And I'm going to put my mask back on, and I'm going to let them take over. Oh, here's the format for in-person. When they're finished doing their demos, we have, of course, you get the sampling that the people online can only drool about. And then when our whole cooking demonstration is over, we'll just, turn off the online, and the people who are present, you can mingle. There's books back there if you want to check out from the library, and ask questions. Will be here. Okay. So it is more, ladies. So who is first?
I am so happy to be here. It's like old home. It's been a year and a half at least, and it's great to be here and to see you and to see the Zoom people. Welcome. Let's get something straight. Brittany is the chef/cook, and I just dabble in food a little bit. So I learned a lot from her. She's terrific. And Brittany has a website and a YouTube channel. Can you tell I like her a little bit? TheGiroudiFamily.com. So check it out for sure. So when we were thinking about apples and pumpkins and squashes today, I was walking into Giant Eagle, and they have, of course, a huge display of apples and gourds and tasty things. And I saw apple chips. I thought, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll make apple chips. I made them before, but it's been a while. So I grabbed a bag, brought it home. Notice it's not open. And since I've been whole food plant-based, I look at the back of the package more frequently than I do the front, because this tells the true story. So I flipped it over and I look at ingredients and it says apples. Well, that's good.
Sally's not
Then it says canola oil. That's not good. Then it says corn syrup, and I thought, oh, that's not good either. So I wasn't thrilled about this. And I decided to check out the numbers. Total sugars are 12, which seems kind of high. Now this bag has 2.5 servings in it, so keep that in mind. But total sugars are 12, and that includes 10 added sugars. So that's a lot of sugar, which you don't need. But we're making them much better today, much healthier. Simple ingredients. Apple. And I usually use, well, a mandolin. You may or may not have used a mandolin before. Here's mine. It's old. It's really nice. It's really fast. You get uniform thin slices. You don't have to. You can use serrated knife to do this. The recipe says, and you'll get these recipes tomorrow. The recipe says cut and with your knife or mandolin, between 1/8 and 1/4 inch. And fortunately, my mandolin has a 3/16 inch increment, so this is perfect. But I have to tell you, these are dangerous. And fortunately, my mandolin comes with this, which I put I'm just going to show you briefly how to do it. You put the food, whatever you're slicing, in, then your hands and fingers are protected. And you simply just make sure. You know what, I had it on lock, I'm sorry. It also has a lock feature, which is good. So I have to unlock it. Now we're ready to slice. It doesn't even seem like it's doing anything, but it is. And quick as you're done. And you have apple slices. This is kind of what they look like. And you'd be amazed how many slices you get from the mandolin. It's really nice. My grandchildren love apples, but when I cut apples up for them, because I'm always afraid of choking, they're a toddler and a little bit older, I cut a regular apple up into 10 or 12 slices. They won't sit and eat a whole apple because they're too antsy, but they love these chips that we're going to sample and pass around later. So what I do is, and by the way, Sally mentioned this at our class, was it Wednesday? You can also do beet chips with beets. You can do potato chips. You can do pears. And I highly recommend leaving the skin on. There's a lot of fiber in the skin and very nutritious. Oh, can I take my mask off?
Yeah.
Does anybody mind if I take my mask
You
off?
can project a little bit better.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Oops. All right, so we have the cut slices. And I have to find my little. You lay them on parchment paper. Do not just put them flat on a cookie sheet because they will stick. So parchment paper, lay your slices out, and they're going to shrink. So you can easily get 2 apples on one cookie sheet, a standard size cookie sheet. Lay them out as flat as you can. If they overlap, that's fine. But lay them out. And then, since I was making a lot of these for today, I went to the dollar store and for $1 got salt and pepper shakers, which I'm not using for salt and pepper. But this little handy salt and pepper shaker is filled with my combination of cinnamon and nutmeg. And I use this quite a bit, this combination of spices. So you easily just sprinkle it on as much as you want very quickly. Flip them over, sprinkle the other side with your mixture, and they get put in a 300-degree oven. Now my oven's electric. Ovens are different, and I don't know anything about a gas oven. Even I think all electric ovens are slightly different, but I put it in a 300-degree oven for 30 minutes, my cookie tray. Take it out after 30 minutes, flip them over. you already have them seasoned. You don't have to season them anymore. Put them back in for 10. Bring it back out. And if they're a little moist, and they probably will be, I then shut my oven off and put the tray back in. Now, electric ovens stay hot for a while. And you have to watch like every 10, 15 minutes, check it to make sure, because they will go from this to very dark brown quickly. So you have to keep an eye on. But they're great, and they can stay in a covered container up to a week. But mine never lasts that long. I mean, they're gone in 3 days. And for one apple, you can get lots of slices. So this is a good snack. So just stay away from this. Okay. And watch your fingers with the mandolin. All right, the next recipe is a dessert, a no-bake apple crumble. It's originally from Forks Over Knives, but they have you making applesauce, and that's where we parted company, and I'll explain. So first of all, the topping. The topping is the jewel dates and nuts. Now we're going to use, I have a mixture of walnuts, but you can use any nut, and dates. I have that prepared already. That's our crumble topping. I buy Mijul dates. You can get is it neglet? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
You get those, they're a little smaller. So dates will keep just covered up in a container in your pantry for probably 3 months. If you keep them in the fridge, they say 12 months. If you keep them in the freezer, like over a year, probably close to 2 years. So I have more freezer space downstairs than I do pantry and refrigerator space. So I keep mine in the freezer. But if you're going to keep them in the freezer, I suggest you pit them before you put them in the freezer. And they do clump together, but I never have any trouble prying, some dates apart, and I pull out what I need, and I know they're always in the freezer. So that's just a little hint. So you chop these up. Here's the topping. Put that aside. And the filling are the diced apples. So the recipe you're going to, whoops, that's soup. The recipe you're going to get says 4 apples, and I think 4 apples mixture easily feeds 4 people, because one diced apple makes a lot. So here are my diced apples. And you can use any apple you want. My husband's very discerning with his apples. I'm not. I love Gala apples, and as long as I have some spices on it, Gala's fine with me. So here are this is 4 cups of diced apples. So I wanted to feed all of you today. So this is the filling. We just did the topping. We put that aside. This is the filling. And into the filling goes, or in this filling is a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, because I'm doubling this of lemon juice. So let me tell you about lemon juice. A lot of whole food plant. Oh, go ahead.
What kind of apples does your husband prefer?
They have to have a crunch when he bites into them. So he gets the crunchy ones. He likes Fuji. Gala, he doesn't like. Gala's too soft. It has to have a snap to it. So
How about Randy Smith? Does he like them?
that might be a little too tart. Are they
Yeah.
tart? Yeah. It
Yeah.
can't be too tart. It can't, and it has to be crisp. We won't talk about that. So here's my story with ice cube trays and lemon juice. So a lot of whole food plant-based recipes need some acidic. And I was always going to the fridge or thinking, oh no, I don't have a lemon. So I used to cut lemons in half, wash them first, cut them in half, juice them, and then I would put tablespoon increments in each of these sections, pop it in the freezer, freeze them, pop them out, and keep them in a baggie. So whenever I needed a tablespoon or 2 of lemon juice, I had it, which was great. So I recommend that highly. But I read Dr. Gregor's was his cookbook last year, said he uses the whole lemon. So I have a Vitamix, which is a pretty powerful blender. I don't know if other blenders, I had a Blendtec before, and that worked too. But if I'm going to do this, I buy organic lemons, wash it, rinse it underwater, cut the ends off, cut it in half. I take the seeds out, and that whole sucker, the 2 halves get put in my Vitamix. And I
I
make,
don't even take the seeds out.
Yeah, I'm trying the seeds.
yeah,
too.
I know. He says not to take the seeds out, but I'm a little,
Okay.
I have to take the seeds out. I don't know why. It's like my hang up.
It's okay. I'm sure the benefits are still.
Do I need an apron that says I remove seeds from the I just have to take them out. You don't have to take them out. They won't hurt you. So that's great because I make hummus every week, and my hummus needs a couple tablespoons of lemon juice. And it has a really good lemon. It has a better lemon taste than the liquid juice lemon because
Yeah.
it has the rind, it has everything in it. So that's what I do. So these, I mix them at home. I put the lemon juice in already because I wanted to preserve the color a little bit. So that's the filling with the lemon juice. Okay, put that aside. We have the topping put aside. We have the filling put aside. And next, this is where Forks Over Knives and I parted company. They wanted you for this recipe to make applesauce. I wasn't making applesauce for this. So if I can find a spoon, here we go. I used to buy only unsweetened applesauce, by the way. I used to buy jars, I think it's Mott's or Musselman's, unsweetened applesauce, and I'd use it, but I didn't use it fast enough mold. And I threw out a couple jars. I thought, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. So I bought these little unsweetened applesauce cups that are great. And believe it or not, the expiration date is January 19th, 2023. Isn't that amazing?
I
That
do the
long.
same thing. Yeah.
So we put into a small bowl 2 of these cups. Your recipe will just say 1 cup because it's half as much. These are very nice to have. And you know what? A lot of whole food plant-based recipes use applesauce. It's a great substitution for eggs. It's a great substitution for oil. So you'll use these more than you realize.
Linda, don't you freeze that also? Haven't
Freeze-
you done that?
Freeze the applesauce?
Yeah, from a jar. I do that. I've been freezing
No.
applesauce the same way.
I
Pop
haven't.
them in a freezer.
Yeah, I've never done that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can do
There's
your
a lot
ice
of
cube
things I
tray
freeze.
too. Sure.
Oh, okay.
If you have a big tub.
But most recipes, I think, call for at least, applesauce call for at least a half a cup. don't
Yeah.
they? So this is already pre-measured, good to go. But that's good to know. Okay, there we go. We have our applesauce. My raisins are somewhere. Ooh. Here they are, right in front of me. Here's raisins. I think it's a 1/4 cup, but I'm doing a half a cup for us. And my spices, which coincidentally are a combination of cinnamon and nutmeg. So here we go. Comes in handy. You just maybe should mark what this is. You don't know how many times I've gone to my little pantry, a small one, and grabbed something that I thought was cinnamon and it was cumin, and I almost did that. I don't think there's a similarity, cumin and cinnamon in this dish. Anyway, so we combine this. This is for your apples. So that gets combined very well. And then we put it into our diced apple mixture. Now, if you want to, I guess you could make your own applesauce. I find this much easier. So here we go. Just combine this, and basically once you combine this, your dessert is done. Now, I love many whole food plant-based recipes because you can use them in different ways. As a dessert, I can ladle this into a dish with my crumble topping, which is dates and walnuts, and you're done. My husband, though, has used this on top of his oatmeal. It's really good. I put it on top of a baked sweet potato, really good. Sure.
We got to get the,
And Brittany the other night made buckwheat
Yeah.
pilaf.
Mhm.
oh,
Buckwheat pilaf. So
yes.
there's your grain. And instead of, you said cherries, I think,
Yeah, I put
this
cherries
could
in
be
that.
your sweet.
Yep.
So have a grain, even quinoa, add some of this. Very good. You can add some, leave it like that, or add some canned chickpeas or
Mhm.
something and make a whole salad. So this is great. And this will last in your fridge, probably 4 or 5 days. I mean, there's the acidity of lemon is going to keep the apples from turning really dark. But yeah, 5 days this works. Okay. You know what else I needed, which I forgot to put in? When I'm making my applesauce mixture with the 2 cups of applesauce, another tablespoon or 2 of the lemon juice. Okay. So we had lemon juice in the apples that I originally diced and brought from home. And then the mixture with the applesauce cups and the cinnamon and the raisins needed some lemon juice. And here's what it looks like. This is a whole lemon that was put in the Vitamix. It's not liquidy, it's kind of mushy. So I need to mix that in here. This is probably not the ideal way to do it, but I'm glad I found it out now and not when I was driving home, you know, that I left out an ingredient. So we'll mix that up. Oh, sometimes, and my husband eats it this way, he'll eat it cold. I like to pop it in the microwave for just a minute. It keeps the apples crunchy, but it warms them just a little bit. So that's how I like it. So you can do it, you can eat it many different ways. And it's very tasty. It seems like a special treat, a special dessert. There we go. All right. The lemon's in there. It's fine and dandy. Okay, so we have our apple chips done. Okay, 2 apples, and now we're on to squash. Butternut squash. Here we go. So some of the squashes are very daunting to cut and to deal with. They're heavy, they're unwieldy. So when I bring a squash home, especially a butternut squash, I rinse it first and I prick it a couple places and I put it in the microwave. Now this big sucker, I think I put in for like 3 or 4 minutes, and then it cools, then you can deal with it. So I highly recommend microwaving first. I mean, I used to use like big knives that I have, scary knives. I don't use those anymore, so I microwave. So we don't want scary knives. Okay, so the first part of the soup, and this is adapted from Vitamix, and that's a Vitamix blender. After I wash this and prick it and microwave it, I peel it. Some squashes you can eat the peel, like I eat the peel of acorn. I eat the peel of carnival squash, sweet dumpling. I eat the peel or the skin. I've heard, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard this is okay to eat if it's a young butternut squash. Well, when I buy it at John Eagle, there's no birth date on it. So I don't know if it's young or old. So I've heard and I've read that if it's too old of a squash, it'll be tougher. So I don't know. Do you eat?
Yeah.
I generally peel it.
Yeah.
But it's up to you
Yeah.
what you want to do. So after I have it out of the microwave and it's cooled slightly, I cut the ends off. I peel it. And they say to cut it, if you want to find out where the seeds are, cut it right between the bigger part and the smaller part where it starts to get larger. Right there. Should be right there. I'm not going to cut it now for you. But scoop up, and then you can cut it into chunks. It gets put onto, because we're roasting these first for the soup. We're put it on a cookie sheet. That parchment is a must because of it will stick. I use a grapefruit spoon to take out that pulp and the seeds. I throw the pulp away, keep the seeds because that's going to be our garnish. So you can rinse the seeds out and put them aside. So after that's chunked up, it's ready to go on the cookie sheet. This recipe also, onto the cookie sheet, I'm going to put an onion, an onion that has been quartered, that gets roasted. So those things get roasted for 20 minutes at 375. After 20 minutes, I take the pan out of squash and onion. I push the vegetables aside and I put my squash seeds that I cleaned out and I rinsed off and dried. I put them on the side of the sheet, and you'll have enough room because the vegetables shrink. I put it back in the same degree oven for another 10 minutes. The squash will be done, the onion will be done, and the pumpkin seeds will be just right. So then take that out of the oven. Put away the, in a small bowl, take away the pumpkin, I keep on saying that's the squash seeds. Okay, then basically we're all ready then to put this in the Vitamix. Vitamix is a pretty powerful blender. If you don't have as powerful a blender, you might want to roast. I haven't done this there before, but I think it would work. You could actually put your apple,
Yeah.
roast it with you have your squash on the pan, you have your onion, you can put your apple. This recipe also requires a stalk of celery. You could probably put that and roast it. The recipe requires, here's my celery. 4 medium carrots, you could roast those in your oven at the same time if your blender isn't powerful. And a couple apples could go in there. So you're basically roasting everything.
Or even more convenient
Yes,
is microwave. I've microwaved the
Yeah.
celery, everything.
you can microwave it.
Yeah,
Or if you have the fresh squash, you can, I like roasting because it brings out the sweetness of it, gives it a little more flavor. But you can microwave these before or put on top of your stove and steam it. So however you want to prepare the butternut squash, it's up to you, but it has to be, before it blends together, it has to be cooked. And Sally just pointed this out to me. Aldi's, right?
Aldi's, but I'm sure other grocery
Butternut
stores have.
I've seen it at Giant Eagle in bags, so you can make it.
I just made a soup
Make
this
it
week
quicker.
with it. Yeah.
So into our Vitamix goes our squash and our onions. I did this at home. You know, after prepping this for today, I have a newfound respect for restaurants and catering companies. It's like, it's like a lot. Now, I probably have more than, they said 3.5 to 4 cups. You know, I'm hoping I don't go too far in this. We don't want a Vitamix explosion. So that goes in there. My apples and carrots are going to go in. Nice. Hoping.
We'll shove it down. Give your tamper.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, this also, my celery. I think the original recipe had 2 stalks of celery, but I didn't like 2 stalks, so I cut it down to 1. And it has dates for sweetness. These are dates that I've already pitted. They go in. And you need some spice, right? Clear some of this away. And I have 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I think the recipe said 1 or 2. I really kind of go heavy on cinnamon. I like cinnamon a lot. So we have cinnamon here. And basically, when your soup is done, I need broth. And we talked about before class started, this is a low sodium veggie broth that I buy by the case. I just always have it in my house. It's by Pacific. It's low sodium. I like it because some of the others have oil added to them. And
No,
are higher
I just
salt.
wanted, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Okay, so into this, goes only 3 cups of broth. And you may wonder, what do I do with the extra cup? Because this is 4 cups. Put the extra cup in here, and then pop it into your freezer. And then when you're sauteing something, you come home, you have to saute something really fast, take an ice cube or 2 out of veggie broth. So we only need 3 cups in here, and I think I have everything. Squash, onion, apple, celery, carrots, veggie broth, dates, and cinnamon.
So Linda, just move out of the way a little bit so the crowd can see this beautiful Vitamix.
Okay. It's very colorful, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Now, most of my soups, I have to admit, turn out more like stews. You know, I just pack them with a lot of vegetables. So they turn out to be thick. So I think I have less than a cup here. We'll see how it goes. I'm a little nervous how it's gonna. Okay, where's my Vitamix? Do you need to see this off? Do you see, is that all right?
You can all, yeah.
So the Vitamix comes with this big jar. When I bought it though, I needed something to make smoothies every day. I have smoothies every single morning for breakfast. Just about. So I purchased a smaller jar that I keep in my kitchen right under the counter so I can make a smoothie. Actually, I make it the night before and put it in a grab and go cup, and it's in the fridge, and I could just grab it in the morning, and it makes a pretty big, like a 24-ounce smoothie. That's my breakfast. So, but this is the larger. I feel like I'm doing a commercial for.
It sounds like that every time I use it too.
Okay, and where's my tamper?
I think you just, once you end up owning a Vitamix, you just can't go back to something else.
Yeah, I had a blend tech before, which was wonderful, and they had good customer service, but. Okay, we turn it on, and they say with Vitamixes, it's good to start low and then go up to high right away. It's very noisy too, but. Just pause for 1 minute. On Vitamix's recipe, they said leave it on for 5 minutes and you'll have a steaming soup. So I'm not going to leave it on for 5 minutes, but I'm going to let it go a little bit more. So, Brittany, do you think I could put the top on and just continue talking, or it's too loud maybe?
Yeah, I think it would be too
Maybe too
loud.
loud.
Yeah.
Let's do a little bit more.
Make sure.
All right. Oops. And if I had more space, I might add some more broth, but that's okay. Okay, soup. The last recipe I wanted to tell you about, I don't have anything to demonstrate, but I have to tell you about it because it is a wonderful recipe. It's going to be my Thanksgiving recipe. It's super. But if you're ever at a loss for recipes, this is your person, really. You make wonderful recipes. Everything I've tried has been out of this world. And they're things that we eat and taste and our families want and our kids want, and it tastes so good and it's so healthy and it's just delicious. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
So, but this recipe popped up on the internet and I thought I would try it. And I like it. It sounds complicated, but hopefully when I explain it to you today, it won't seem overwhelming because it is absolutely delicious. You start with a 13 by 9 pan and you roast vegetables. You need 6 cups of roasted vegetables, any vegetables you want. The first couple times I did squashes and onion, squashes and cauliflower. One time I did broccoli, cauliflower, carrots. Just make sure there's 6 cups. Roast them like we talked about. Parchment lined cookie sheet. Okay. Now while that's roasting, so you have to stay with me here because it gets complicated, but it's not. So while that's roasting, you want to saute on top of your stove. You have 1 large onion diced, put in a saucepan, 6 cloves of garlic, and a little bit of veggie broth. You're going to need for this recipe was 3 cups. This recipe that I'm telling you about is 4 cups. You can use a little bit of it. Saute the onion and the garlic just till it's translucent. Then you add 4 cups of veggie broth, 1.5 cups of lentils that are rinsed, and a big handful of fresh thyme. That's not going to get mixed in. The thyme's going to cook with it and then thrown out. So just kind of lay it on top and tap it down a little bit. So that gets sauteed on top of your stove for, I think, uncovered 25 or 30 minutes. After that time, taste it, and taste if the lentils are done, then everything else is done. Okay, now while you have roasting vegetables in the oven, you have your saute pan for 20-25 minutes. There's a cashew cream sauce that I just found that you can make up to 3 days ahead. So you can do it at the same time you're roasting and sauteing, or you can do it a few days before. It's a cup of cashews that you have soaked for an hour in hot water and then drained. So into your blender for the cashew cream sauce would go your cashews, your 1 cup, 1/2 cup water plus 2 tablespoons, 2 cloves of garlic, 1.5 tablespoons lemon juice, get it from your freezer, right? And 2 tablespoons nutritional yeast. That makes a cashew cream sauce. Okay, so when your vegetables are done, you put them in the 13x9 pan on the bottom. Your sauteed lentil mixture, before you put that on top of the vegetables, there's 3 things to mix in a little bowl. 1/4 cup tahini, 2 tablespoons balsamic vinegar, and 2 tablespoons miso paste. Mix that up. Put that in with your lentils that are with the onions and the garlic and the thyme. Mix that up. And that goes on top of your vegetables. Then the 3rd layer is the cashew cream sauce that you just made, or you made a few days ago. That goes on top of that. And then the whole thing goes in the oven. Well, before you put the lentil mixture on top, make sure you remove the thyme and throw that out. That goes into the oven, 350 degrees, 25 to 30 minutes, uncovered. The 25 to 30 minutes, I'm sorry, is the lentil mixture. When you're ready to layer it, it bakes 350 for only 20 minutes. After the 20 minutes, I turn my oven off and I put the broiler on, which makes the cashew cream like a crust. It's really good. I've never done that before. I've used the cashew cream sauce, but this actually looks like a breading or a topping. It makes it like a thick crust. So I broil it. My oven has a high and a low broil. I just put it on a low broil just for a minute and I stand right there. It'll get a little bit brown, just very slightly brown, and it's good. And I let it cool. I've cut it into 6 pieces and I've even frozen it and used it that way. So I'm definitely making this, I think, for Thanksgiving. I think I'm going to serve the butternut squash soup first and maybe serve a grain with it or a tossed salad or some bread or something. And that's kind of going to be Thanksgiving. So that's it.
Slide pumpkin. And because we did the Wednesday night Instant Pot class, I decided to just do an Instant Pot recipe to give you another one. So if you haven't checked out that video, we have the recipes for that one. I had to remember, when you said, what did I make? I had to remember because I've taught this is like my 3rd cooking class of this week. So I had to keep everything straight. But I'm gonna make an African stew. If you guys haven't tried like African peanut stew in the past, this is kind of the okay. And then adding in peanut butter or any kind of nut butter is optional, and you can even do that at the very end. And you can, what I like about that is you can customize how much you want to put in. So you could add in a tablespoon. You can tweak it for if someone doesn't want it or has a nut allergy or something like that. So I kind of left that out as an optional ingredient, but classic African stew would have peanut butter in it. So this is the fall edition. So I did put pumpkin in it since it was my recipe. Before I start with this one though, I did make Dr. Greger's pumpkin seed dip for you guys to try today. This is one of my favorite recipes from the How Not to Diet cookbook. I made a video on it, I think it was last year, but it's delicious. And so if you haven't checked that book out from the library, I really recommend it. But I have this here, it's super easy to make. It's made with pumpkin seeds. There's some white beans, some different spices. It's really easy, and I think it's very surprising how good it is. And you can add, in the recipe, it talks about making a little bit spicy. This is a little hint of spice, but not too bad, because I'm a little bit of a wussy when it comes to heat. So you could put jalapenos in it and cayenne and whatever you wanted, but I just serve it with some chopped up veggies, and it's really good. So we'll make sure that gets passed out. And that again was from the How Not to Die cookbook, the first one. I have to remember now that there's 2 cookbooks out there.
And if anybody in present here, their How Not to Die book is back there. You can, yeah.
Yeah, so it would be the cookbook version of it. So everyone gets confused too, because he has 4 books out, 2 regular books, 2 cookbooks that go with the book. So make sure it's the cookbook. And if you do a Google search, I did find the recipe online. As a heads up, I didn't bring it because it's from his book, so you should go buy it. But you can watch a video and like pause it of me making it. So you could get the recipe that way. You just have to sit through my video of me making it. So I have an 8-quart here. This recipe actually would work the best with a 6-quart, but something bigger than 3, I would say, for safety wise. It makes around 4 servings if you're going to have this as a main, or maybe 6 servings if this is going to be just an entree. I always tell people the serving sizes are so hard to determine for people because like a serving size for me is much different from my husband. He could probably eat the whole thing and that would be 1 serving for him. So I'm always kind of, and then it depends if you're having it with a meal or not. What I like about this one, it contains a starch. It also contains vegetables. So it's really kind of a complete meal with added greens at the end. So I didn't put, again, greens aren't in the recipe, it's added an optional, but whenever it comes, whenever you open it after it quick or naturally releases, it's a good idea to throw in maybe some kale or something in there that's a little bit tougher green, or you can even serve it with spinach. It's really easy just to throw in spinach.
Can you tell us a little bit about an instant pot or whatever that is?
We did full class on it on Wednesday, but I will tell you about it. That's okay. So if you want a whole video talking about all about the Instant Pot, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can watch the class. I'll give you a brief version of it. It's a pressure cooker that's pretty popular nowadays. We did talk about like the safety features of it and everything else, how to use, but I love it. Comes in multiple different sizes. This is kind of the large family size, I like to say. But we do use a 3-quart, which is much smaller for just me and my husband most days. You can do a million different settings on it. We make plant-based yogurt in it a lot, in this one particularly. But you can do, it's also a slow cooker. It cooks up to pressure. So the recipe I'm going to share with you today, I hope we get to it. It does take, people think that Instant Pot is quicker. It can be, but sometimes by the time it comes up to natural pressure, then it cooks for your 10 minutes and then it comes back down. It really is like 40 minutes, maybe depending on how long your cook time is. So we'll see if we get to this before we leave today. But I can answer a lot of questions after class too, if you have it on.
There's a lot of gadgets.
Yeah.
I just wasn't familiar with
You can get them. I've actually found this size at a thrift store right down the street in Murraysville. So there's sometimes like at different thrift stores if you want to try them out cheaper. Amazon does a great once a year, usually sale on them. I think the 3-quart is, you can get it for like $60-ish. But I use it. I mean, I think it's, if you're going to use it, there's lots of recipes on it. This is a harder thing to like create recipes on your own because you can't peek in and see what's going on. So I definitely recommend following, recipes from online for this. So I'm going to dump, I love this because it's already dumped in. You don't really have to do much. So just like a slow cooker, this is really convenient for people that are busy. I myself like teach and do a bunch of things. So having quick recipes, especially for some reason during the fall, is like crucial to me staying on plan and just being happy in general. So I usually go for a lot of Instant Pot recipes, especially during the fall season for me personally. So I have a 15-ounce can of fire roasted diced tomatoes that are no salt added. You could use regular diced tomatoes, whatever you'd like. I just always try to find ones that don't have salt in them. So I love this because we're just gonna dump it all in and set it, and then we're ready to go. I also have a 15-ounce can of chickpeas that are rinsed and drained. It's no salt added again. Just make sure you read ingredients. They sneak stuff in everything. So you get really good at when you come to these classes and learn how to read the back of labels. It's just amazing how much stuff they throw into items. So I just get, again, no salt added. I've rinsed and drained it. If you want to use a different bean, if you're not a fan of chickpeas, you could use a white bean. You could use something else. I probably wouldn't use black beans. Are a little bit softer when they're cooked. So it probably would still work, but it might not be the prettiest when it comes out, to keep in mind. And then I have a 15-ounce can of canned pumpkin. Just make sure you get pumpkin and not pumpkin pie filling. That's a big whoopsie sometimes people do in the store. But I just go to Trader Joe's. It's really affordable, and they haven't ran out of it yet this year. Every time I go, they have it. So sometimes it's good to stock up. But I haven't found it this year. It's still been there whenever I went. So I'm just gonna add the whole can. This is gonna help make it creamy. Pumpkin's kind of a mild flavor, I find, for a lot of things. So don't be afraid of using it. All right, and then I have 2 cups of a vegetable broth. Again, I'm using the same that Linda did. No oil, low sodium is probably the best. If you can make it yourself, even better. So that way you're in control of what you're putting into it. And I shop a lot at the East End Food Co-op here in Pittsburgh. I make a trip, and they have usually all the stuff that we're looking for, like no salt added beans and different things. Shop and save is really hard sometimes to find stuff, and Giant Eagle you sometimes can find, but you just have to make sure you read ingredients. And then I have 1 large onion. You can use any colored. I always pick the red ones because they're slightly healthier for you because of that red color. But you could use yellow or white if you wanted to. Now you could saute that if you wanted to at the beginning. You have to be a food connoisseur to know the difference, I feel. So I've done it both ways and I can't tell. So it just makes life easier not to do that step. And I have 1 large sweet potato that I've chopped. You can leave the skins on, extra fiber. If you have a really picky person in your house, you can take the skins off, but I don't. So I just leave that in. We're almost done, so easy. I already mixed up all my spices today, but this is cumin, coriander, cinnamon, turmeric, black pepper, and you could do red pepper flakes and give it a little bit of heat, but I left it out because again, I'm a sissy and I let my husband make it as spicy as he wants for it. So I'm just gonna throw that in. It's a nice way of sneaking in turmeric. I love getting it in when I can't tell it's in something generally. I'm gonna give it just a stir. And that is it. It's gonna go on high pressure for 10 minutes. It does take a while to come up to high pressure. Everything is gonna cook. We're really looking for the sweet potatoes to be cooked through. You could do this on the stove top. You could even make your sweet potatoes in the oven and then add them in. That's fine. And so it doesn't have to be the Instant Pot. You can still make this at home.
Okay, well, it's beginning to smell good already.
It smells good, good.
I smell the
It's not
onions
even
through
on
my
yet.
mask, you know?
The spices. And so again, you can make this more of a traditional African peanut butter stew by adding in peanut butter. It just depends on how much fat you're having in your diet. If you're trying to lose weight, you could use powdered peanut butter if you wanted to cut back on that. You could use, if you don't have peanut butter, you can use almond butter or something else. I just do that at the end and that makes it richer. Another thing too is I usually will put white miso in at the end. So when I started doing the YouTube channel, I was like putting it in Instant Pot recipes now, but it does have some probiotics that you might want to maintain by not killing it off by cooking it to death. So all your soup is warm. And again, you could even do this per person and make it as, this is a salt replacement. It does have sodium, but Dr. Grieger's research has shown that it doesn't affect cardiovascular and high blood pressure and different things like that. So I use a little bit. I don't eat spoonfuls of miso at home, but it does make it a little bit more palatable, especially if you're trying to get your family members on board. If you're starting to be plant-based, it might make it more enjoyable for you. So I just add a little bit in at the end. So we've added the nut butter at the end or the miso at the end. You could add the greens at the end. And then for your topping to be fancy, or if you like a little bit of crunch, if you like croutons or something like that, you could put some pumpkin seeds on top to garnish. So I always say people eat with their eyes. So if you make your stuff look a little bit more appealing like that or fancy or different things, and the green helps with this as well from the greens, that's really nice. So I'm gonna throw the lid on. My husband was very gracious. I forgot the part of the Instant Pot, so he drove back and gave it to me. So that was very nice of him to do, so I could actually make this. So we're just gonna seal it. And I'm gonna move it over there so you guys, so we have our plug. And again, this would work in a 6-quart. You don't have to have the big 8-quart to do it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You could also double this if you wanted to do an 8-quart and have a lot for leftovers. That's a good idea too. You're gonna,
I'm looking for my gloves, yeah.
okay. I'm gonna unplug yours. And then you just want to make sure it's always at the ceiling. That's the real, sometimes people get scared of pressure cookers because the steam release. I usually put it in a part of my kitchen that there's nothing else around. Try to not put it near cabinets, if you have it. And just make sure, I usually always keep mine on ceiling and just double check a couple times before. It won't come to pressure if you don't have it, but it's a good habit just to remind yourself just to do it right away. Oh no, I have the other weird. Oh, you can probably, okay. Because you can probably plug it into the wall. I think it'll reach the wall. You want to plug it back there. And then it's really easy. It's going to be like 2 seconds to set. Yep.
Good.
So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put pressure cook. It's on high already. I'm going to put it to 10 minutes and that's it. And then this one you just let naturally release. So when the pin drops, you can open up the top. It does take longer to naturally release, but I find it makes it a little bit more of a richer consistency. All the flavors give time to really go at it. So it does take around 40 minutes just to keep in mind. So it's not 10 minutes. So just keep in your back of your head to have that. But does anyone have any questions on that one?
I thought a good suggestion the other night from the Instapot, someone said to quicken the time, you could saute.
Yeah, and you could put
And
you
heat
could
up,
warm, you
yeah.
could warm your vegetable broth, and that would technically cut down. If you use a 6-quart and not 8 quarts, that would take less time. There's less time to build. And like if you ever use water in any of your recipes, you could do like boiling water in it would help. So there's a little tips and tricks, but
Is it, so it's temperature sensitive now?
it's temperature. Yeah, it'll rise quicker. It'll build quicker. So if you are in a pinch, you could do those things. Yeah, we have lots of stuff to taste, and I can show the virtual people the pumpkin seed dip, which you can Google by Googling my name and pumpkin seed. We made that today.
So those are made with the show.
Yep, yeah, literally the bag I brought, it's I think a cup and a fourth.
And I am going to show the virtual people the zucchini bread I made. And this is from the, what is it? You'll get it tomorrow. Protect Diet, what is Protect? Oh. But anyway, you will get it tomorrow. And it's very easy to make because I made it. So it's a given. Okay.
Anyone have the from the
Yeah.
online?
Yes,
have a
except
question?
without.
Can try to-
Yes, you're gonna have to. Somebody asked Linda that, did you say putting the whole butternut squash in the microwave.
Yes.
And pierce it, make
I,
sure you
I,
pierce it.
I prick it with a fork.
Yes,
Or sometimes I'll just, my knife can cut this off and cut this off. If you cut the ends off first, you don't have to prick it. Just put it for 3 or 4 minutes. If you don't want to do that, just prick it and put it in for 3 or 4 minutes.
Well, thanks for coming, Marcia. I see Marcia's here. We had 37 people join us online.
We had more than
Wonderful.
that, a little bit.
A
Some of
little
them-
bit, yeah.
Some of them just-
All right, well, if you guys have no other questions, we're gonna serve the people here and you guys will get this recording tomorrow and all the recipes. Okay, thanks for joining us.